Welcome to Death and Taxes. We're here to talk about the inevitable today. Let's just give a couple minutes here to let people get in. I think they're pulling in right now. Great. Looks like people are jumping on. That's great. All right. Well, let's get started. We'll do a quick round of intros. We're here to talk about death and taxes, as you know, how advisors can use tech to enhance tax and estate planning. And we've got a great panel today to talk about both the technical side as well as the client side. So from Holistiplan on the tax side, we've got Tori Happ. We've got Michael Schwerer from Vanilla to talk about estate planning. And we've got Grant Blindberry from FMB Wealth Management to talk about the client side. He's a financial planner. And I'm Dan Broccoli from Vanilla. I run content here, and I'll just be helping moderate and letting all these smart people give all their insights. Actually, why don't we do a quick round of intros so that people have a little bit more perspective on what you all do. Tori, you want to kick us off?
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. My name is Tori Happy. I am head of partnerships over here at Holistiplan. Holistiplan is a tax planning software that financial advisors can roll out for their clients to kind of round out that financial plan that you guys are already doing with your clients. This is just the tax planning side of it. So our platform allows you to do that simple tax plan for your client to round out that financial plan.
Great, wonderful. And Michael. Hope you're on mute, Michael.
Oh, yep. Thanks, Dan. Appreciate that. And thanks for everyone for joining today. It's a pleasure to be here. So thank you. So my name is Michael Schwerer. I lead business development and partnerships here at Vanilla. And at a high level, Vanilla is an estate advisory platform that helps advisors organize and visualize their clients' estate plans all in one place. I would say to us, estate advisory is this idea of combining, two very important pieces of information for advisors. One being the financial aspects of their clients' lives, which live in various other systems and tools and custodians today. But this is the family's balance sheet, right? This is the accounts, assets, liabilities, holdings, et cetera. Combining that with, the other being the current structure of the client's estate. So these are all the different owners within the estate, like people, trusts, and entities. Understanding the beneficiary information, the fiduciaries that have responsibility over the estate, and of course, the rules that govern the transfer of wealth from one generation to the next. So Vanilla is that platform that really helps advisors combine both of those unique data sets into one, and then of course, provide the visualizations that help the advisor and clients talk through in greater detail the implications of that plan and how they can have more success into the future.
That's great. And just so that everybody on the call knows, we're actually going to have demos later, so that this is kind of a high level overview of the products, but both Tori and Michael are going to actually show you kind of a hands-on demo in real time, so you'll be able to see the products in action. And Grant, tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us a little bit about FMB.
Yeah, Grant Blindberry, FMB Wealth Management in Westlake Village, California. So for those familiar with Southern California, we're about halfway between Los Angeles and Santa Barbara. We've got 12 employees. We've got a little over $500 million of assets under management. I've been at the firm for a little over 20 years, partner here. And I would say our average client is probably in the $2.5 to $5 million range. And then from a spectrum standpoint, it'll go up to 30 plus, and we have some that are down in the few hundred of thousands that might be like, children of some of our clients. So that's going to be the spectrum of clients that we serve, as some context for kind of what we're talking about today.
That's great. And we talked earlier about kind of your process at FMB and how you approach wealth and estate and tax planning with your clients. You want to kind of give an overview of that process just so that people have a little context there?
Yeah, so one of the things that has contributed a lot to the success that our firm has had is kind of this desire to continually evolve what we're delivering to clients. And that's kind of manifested in every couple of years, there's kind of a significant addition. And a few years back, our addition was that we really formalized exactly what we're going to deliver and how we're going to deliver it to clients into a service schedule. And so I know that's something, in fact, on one of the Vanilla webinars recently, there was a firm that was doing something similar to that. And I think that's a little bit on the forefront now, but we've found it to be incredibly valuable. And what we did inside of that process was we kind of split up again into about 3 meetings: an early year, a mid-year, and an end of year meeting with clients. And we covered different pertinent topics in each of them, but in a very structured way. You know, we like to say that it eliminates this financial Groundhog Day that a lot of clients kind of tended to experience when they'd go in for quarterly meetings and it was the same agenda every single time, right? And so by purposely touching on the important cornerstones in a client's financial life throughout the year outside of just their portfolio, we were able to identify taxes, we were identify trust and estates, insurance, both life, property, casualty, philanthropic giving. We also touch on things like cybersecurity practices and things like this that can actually, if not monitored, can actually be extremely detrimental to a client's overall financial structure, right? So we try to be thoughtful about and touching on those things throughout the year. And when we initially started doing that, we were doing it all on our own. So trying to do a, say, tax review or a trust and estates review for a couple of hundred clients every year and doing it by hand was drawing quite a bit of resources. Now, we knew that it was going to be valuable to the client. We knew that because as we were rolling it out and delivering it about 4 years ago, the feedback we got was incredible, right? So we knew that they wanted this, right? We knew that if there was the ability to bring that into the fold with what we were talking about already, clearly they're talking about it with their accountant every year, their taxes, and clearly they spent quite a bit of time with their trust and estates attorney when they did their initial plan. But being able to revisit that, being able to put it into context of some of the other discussions we were having, incredibly well received. So that's something we were doing before we ever came across Vanilla and Holistiplan.
That's great. Just wanted to give a note to everybody out there listening. We're going to do Q&A at the end, so feel free as we go along. If you've got questions that come up as we're talking here, feel free to drop those in the Q&A, and we'll get to those at the end for sure. So Grant, you were doing all of these things before without the help of technology. Talk to me a little bit about your overall philosophy on technology at your firm, like what your tech stack kind of looks at, and then like how did you layer Vanilla and Holistiplan in? How did that all happen?
Yeah, so our overall tech stack, just quickly laying that out. So we use Orion for our portfolio management. Our CRM is Redtail, which Orion now owns. Another kind of a shift and I would say evolution that we made a few years back was moving away from what we'd been using from a planning software previously, which was eMoney. We had a lot of success with that, but continuing to try to evolve, we moved to a newer system that is a liability-driven planning system called Libretto. That has been something that I think has been a differentiator along with what we're going to be talking about today. So trying to manage those aspects of a tech stack and a service delivery that are both the table stakes, hey, you have to be doing this, while also mixing in some stuff that is going to be differentiating in a meaningful way. That balancing act is something that requires kind of constant maintenance and also some occasional changes or upgrades. So we use that Libretto system as our planning system. And then from a delivery system, we use Vanilla, we use Holistiplan. Those are the two primary ones. Right now, we're still having to do the insurance reviews basically as kind of one-offs by hand. So anyone listening wants to pop in.
There's an opportunity there.
A service that does that alongside these, I would be greatly appreciative.
Well, it sounds like you had this sort of impetus to really focus on these different pieces of planning before the tech came in. So paint a picture of like what that was before you started using the technologies, Vanilla and Holistiplan, and how using those technologies sort of made things more efficient, maybe, hopefully, and kind of changed the way you do things.
Yeah, I mean, very simply, the two big things are it took way more time before, and it was way less impressive before, right? And that's not because I don't think that our firm would be capable of doing a really good trust and estates review, really good tax review. We were, but we didn't have the resources to do it for a couple hundred clients on top of the other things that we're doing. One of the things that you and I talked about leading up to this was that there's been this narrative in the advisor space for a decade or more about this impending fee compression, right? And the reality is it hasn't really manifested. And in fact, if you look at a couple of the studies, there's been slight ticks up in overall fees. But my rationale for why that has happened is because advisory firms have been packing more services into that same fee, right? So you've been having to do more in order to justify the fee that a decade ago you didn't need as much to do. So these are incredibly valuable services that we're really having to bring to the table and continue to evolve if we want to continue to get the compensation we were getting before. The clients are valuing it, that's why they're continuing to pay it, but it's because there's this continuing evolution. And we want to continue to make that better and better, right? So we knew we had to bring these things to the table because we were getting the feedback from the client. We just didn't have the resources for it. So once we came across Vanilla and then quickly thereafter came across Holistiplan, it was eye-opening for us exactly what we were going to be capable of getting, and then how much of our resources it was going to take up, right? They were both complete win-wins. As far as us being able to have a better product, better information, and better guidance we're able to give the client in a much more scalable way.
Great. So maybe let's get specific about this if we can, if you don't mind. Let's talk about some maybe client stories, both for Vanilla and Holistiplan, if you don't mind. Walk me through the journey with a client, if you could, and how that's gone. I mean, we can start with Holistiplan if you'd like. Talk to me about if you've got a specific example of a client that where you've brought tax planning to them with Holistiplan and that's impacted them in a particular way. That'd be great.
Yeah, I mean, a couple specific examples that I had written down was we have a number of clients in the tech space. We're managing and we're using Holistiplan to help manage this balancing act of ISOs and staying out of AMT, and being able to do an analysis like that and stay in our proverbial lane is really, really delicate without dedicated tools that are built for advisors to do that, right? Just like we don't want unauthorized practice of law, we don't want to be out there doing unauthorized tax guidance either. So the fact that we're able to use a system, in this case like Holistiplan, that isn't just a general tax software built for, say, tax preparers, but one that's built for advisors and understands the lanes that we need to stay in, gives us a lot of confidence that we can really then lean into exactly what the software is capable of, what it's putting out, and how it's helping us deliver guidance to the client, and know that that's going to be a safe place for us. So that kind of analysis, again, the ISO AMT balancing, huge. It also gives us this ability to kind of look at some of these second order effects inside of tax planning, right? So as we help to manage clients through different tax regimes or different periods of their tax life, say from working into maybe a gap of retirement before things like Social Security and RMDs hit and things come back up, and managing this lifetime tax, but then being able to look a layer deeper and say, well, what about things like how this is going to affect Medicare tax and the IRMA tax and this and that through these different regimes? I mean, holy cow, being able to do that for a couple of hundred clients on our own, combing through their returns, as opposed to being able to upload the return into Holistiplan and get back within a minute or two, like a tax report that's going to give us the highlights of that, and then elevate it all to the top of the report so that, again, we're able to spend our time focusing on moving big rocks as opposed to sifting through sand in the rest of the return. That's been incredibly valuable. And I think this would apply to both Holistiplan and Vanilla, but they both create this space where we can now have more engaging conversations with our fellow professionals on the tax and on the trust and estate side in a supportive and collaborative way that also makes their life easier. I mean, this is something that I actually got from some of the training with Holistiplan, but as we're able to package these things up, I mean, we're meeting with the client 3 times a year, right? So by the time the end of the year comes, right, we should have been able to continually gather some really helpful information for the accountant that we can then bundle up and give to them with a bow on it. And it's going to give them some time back, right? And that's kind of the nugget that I've taken away from Holistiplan is, you know, if you can give during these really crammed periods of time for the accounts, if you can give them a little bit of time back because everything is pulled together and organized well, they're really going to appreciate that, right? So having a better open dialogue and really good rapport with our clients, other professionals, is going to do nothing but be a win-win for us as a business and for the client as well.
That's great. Tori, do you have anything to add or any questions as we talk through these specific instances of Holistiplan?
Yeah, I love that Grant hits on that time management and working with the clients, other professionals. We're not here to replace the client's tax preparer, right? You're just here to help them, guide them through the next steps of what they should be taking and how you, the advisor, are looking at planning for their financial needs for the following years, right? So for us, that tax letter that Grant's hitting on is really important, that you can just give that to the client. They take that to their tax preparer, and then they're off to the races. Their tax preparer knows exactly what you, the advisor, are thinking of how their financial plan should look for the coming year. And they know that you are looking out for them because you, the advisor, are collecting a lot of data about the client that the tax preparer probably isn't, right? You know when they're retiring, you know that they've got kids heading off to college, or maybe they're going on Medi-Cal or Medicaid if you're in the state of California. Maybe they're thinking about a move. No one's thinking about that. You know, they're moving from a state with state income tax to a state that has non-income tax, right? You're starting to plan for all of these, and their tax preparers just don't have the time or the need that want to be looking into that. So I love that he's hitting on that idea of you working together with your clients, other financial service industry folks that they are working with. So I think that's a huge thing for us, is we're not here to replace anyone. We're here to amplify what you are doing for your client and to better serve them in the long run.
That's great. And so I'm curious too, Grant, on the other side, on the estate planning side, has it changed your relationship to using Vanilla? Has that changed your relationship with the estate planning attorneys or specialists at all?
Yeah, I think it was, in all honesty, we were a little curious as to exactly how it really, in both cases, how they'd be received by the corresponding professionals, right? Because I try to put myself in their shoes and think about like a client coming back and saying, oh, my trust and estate attorney or my CPA just did a quick financial plan review for me on the plan that you gave us. Like, really? That would be kind of interesting, right? So we tried to be really thoughtful, and both firms, Vanilla and Holistiplan, were very helpful in helping to shape how we would frame that, frame for the narrative there. And it's been incredibly well received. So I appreciate you guys helping us with that. But it's, again, there's things that have become table stakes from a planning standpoint, where you gotta do these things, or you're not going to look like you really have your act together. And then there's the next layer of things, which are differentiators. And when you're the first person who's able to show a client or a center of influence something really impressive and additive from a multidisciplinary standpoint, you get some bonus points for that, right? And it's something that I mentioned, Daniel, when you and I were talking before. We've really experienced some first mover advantage, I think, with both of these with both Holistiplan, with Vanilla, with Libretto, and with our client service schedule. These are things that there are other firms doing them, just not many of them. And we're getting that kind of differentiated value right now from a business development standpoint for it. So that relates to our relationship with the COIs as well. We're getting some first mover advantage on being able to bring some of these kind of next generation tools that are, again, focused on this multidisciplinary collaboration, which I think most kind of progressive, growth minded professionals, regardless of what your discipline is, they realize that there's value in that, right? They want to play well in that proverbial sandbox. And so when we're able to bring some tools that allow them to do that, they don't have to pay for them, right? They don't have to create them. We just use it to supplement. And I say kind of shine a brighter light on the good work that they're doing for the client. We've gotten a really good response.
That's great. It would be terrific if we could go into some specifics on the Vanilla side, how this has impacted your client relationships, maybe your client conversations. And we had, in our previous conversation, it sounded like you had maybe a difficult situation with the client recently that you were able to use Vanilla to help navigate. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so one of our clients that I've been one of the very first clients I started working with 22 years ago, the wife unfortunately pretty suddenly passed between being completely healthy in late August to passing in early September or late September. So we're talking within a little over a month. And these are incredibly difficult situations for everybody involved, right? I think all of us who work directly with clients care about those clients.
Right.
And the longer you work with them, the deeper those roots grow. So it's a very sad situation, but we already had their plan up in Vanilla. We had done a review for them earlier in the year when we thought everything was great. We'd done their annual review for things. We're now able to, and they're going to be, the husband who survived his wife is going to be coming in end of this month, beginning of next month. And we're going to use Vanilla as the main piece that we go through to help visualize for him, okay, this is what's going to be happening at this step. And this is why, this is what this means. The fact that you have these interactive displays inside of the Vanilla program where, yes, we'll be able to print out something he can take home with so he can reflect back on it. But being able to use this dynamic interface is really going to help. I mean, he's as almost any spouse, I think they were married almost 50 years. And you lose someone, you're not thinking very clearly, right? And I think we all who've worked with people in a situation like this realize that they're not thinking maybe as clearly or as pragmatically as they normally would, and for understandable reasons. To be able to take something and really simplify it, and also to be able to visualize it, which is something that both systems do really well, really, really helps to be able to show, okay, this is what's going to be happening. Here's where things are going. Here's what will be springing out here, and here are going to be the next steps that we need to take. Here are the things that we need to do and kind of why. It's going to be honestly the main tool in what will be a very difficult but very important meeting that we're going to have coming up. And so without that tool, the meeting would look and feel a lot different and probably not be as impactful for the client.
Yep. Well, that's a really hard situation. I'm glad that the tech is helpful in a small part. So in terms of, obviously this conversation hasn't happened, but in terms of some of the other conversations you've had with clients, both on the tax side as well as the estate planning side, can you think of, what have the results been? What have the reactions from clients been?
Yeah, the reactions have been, I mean, obviously we did it with the hope and an intention that it would be positively received, but the reception we've got has surpassed our expectations, right? So I think what happens is that in both of these cases, tax and legal, they're complicated, right? And clients might feel like they have an understanding of what's going on while they're sitting with the accountant or while they're sitting with the trust attorney going through their estate. But that understanding starts to fade really quickly. right? And there's maybe like one or two big things that they kind of remember from the plan, and the rest of it is all just kind of like disappeared into the fog, it feels like, right? Yeah. And a trust isn't something you go in every year and do again like you do a tax return, right? So you can have this even longer period of time where the more and more fog sets in. So being able to update this every year for them and make it feel refreshed, right? It doesn't feel 2, 3, 4, 5 years old. Updating asset values every year, making sure ages are updated, making sure that grandkids are added into family trees, new professionals are added into the list of professional team. Like all of that is making it feel like the 2022 version of their plan, right? You create so much more engagement in the estate plan, right? I think it's a big struggle, and I don't want to speak for estate planning attorneys, but in my conversations with them, getting folks to not think that the estate plan is a one-time thing, right? But that it's supposed to be an ongoing, important practice that you continue to practice, is keeping this estate plan in place. And it requires ongoing adjustments, just like their financial plan does, right? We have the ability or the benefit of being able to meet with the clients 3 times a year. Trust attorneys might only have the benefit of meeting with them once every 3, 4, 5 years. So we can actually be incredibly additive to this really important piece of their puzzle by being able to touch on it every single year. And sometimes we review everything, nothing needs to change. But I was really surprised how often we go through and, hey, there's a decision maker in here that we need to update. Either that maybe that decision maker passed away, right? Whoever was going to have their healthcare directive, their power of attorney, whatever it was going to be, or maybe the relationship changed with that person. All these sorts of things that probably wouldn't have come up in the normal course of, say, a financial planning conversation, that, hey, this relationship with, this cousin changed. Well, now we know that it's up there in front of them. That's been one of the things that we found the most often. We're able to get them back in front of their trust attorney to get updated. What could be a really important, piece of information is who's going to be deciding if we pull that plug or not, right? So those sorts of things I'm surprised how often we're catching those on an annual basis. And then let's see. Yeah, I think the other thing that we see sometimes is we're able to really illustrate the effects of improper titling and inadequate funding and things. So people might think that because they signed the documents that everything is done, but that doesn't mean, no, you have a lot of other things that need to be done as well, right? And so when we do this estate plan review, and this is something that, again, Vanilla is a big part of our estate plan review, but we have to do the review of the titling of all the important assets as well on an annual basis, right? And make sure that something wasn't quit claimed out and for a refi and then not put back in or something like that, right? That's the most common example, right? But we're able to use Vanilla then to illustrate, well, if you don't do this right, or this is currently not done right, then again, you can use those illustrative pages on first death, second death to show these are the implications of you spending all the money to get an estate plan done and then not actually doing the second part of making sure everything's titled and funded properly.
That's great. Michael, wondering if you have any thoughts here. I mean, I think, Grant's illustrating how some of this can work dynamically, and that makes me think a lot about Vanilla 2.0, the new version of the product that we have that is very much a conversational tool rather than just a set it and forget it tool. Do you have any thoughts here?
Yeah, I mean, so many thoughts. Grant did an incredible job, like highlighting how advisors really use these products. I think a lot of it comes down to just increasing transparency, between advisors to their clients. These are difficult conversations, no matter when they happen. And so something that helps make them less scary and less difficult, I think, is being prepared and increasing that transparency through the technology. So I think that's an overarching theme that I think is just super important. One thing that I would say too on the Vanilla side that really Grant alluded to is really being able to utilize an interactive platform to show clients, what happens, as different life events occur. And Dan, to your point, to sort of our new platform, does provide a really interactive way of showing these diagrams and illustrating, what happens at different events. And I think that's really important, rather than historically, these documents were just, probably tucked away, hidden away in a closet or a file cabinet. What we're doing is really moving them into software, and by making them interactive so that you can click around and view different scenarios, I think it increases the loyalty that customers have with their advisors, because they're coming with knowledgeable information that's also actionable. So I think that those are a couple of big themes that I heard Grant touch on that I think are super important.
That's great. And so we titled this webinar "Death and Taxes," being a little cheeky, but the truth is that they are very, they're very related, and they have a lot of impact on each other. And I'd love to talk a little bit about like how we can think about death and tax, estate planning and tax together. And these are two different technologies, and they're independent technologies. But it would be great to get the whole panel's view on this. Actually, Grant, maybe starting with you. How do you clearly have sort of these separate meetings for estate planning and tax, but I imagine that you have to think of them in a related way as you go through the year. Just curious your thoughts on that.
Yeah, no, and I'm glad you brought it up, because that was really kind of my only final thought to add to this was how pleased I was to see Vanilla and Holistiplan collaborating on a webinar like this. Because look, I think every advisor who's on this call right now, and FMB is no different, we all want to be moving up market, right? Those are like the golden words, right? The more you move up market, the more you're going to need to be diving deeper into the client's trust and legacy planning and their tax planning, and the more those two are going to overlap. So each of you bringing these tools that make us so much stronger in those regards, and then also the two of you demonstrating how well the systems can work together, is a great roadmap for all the advisors on here. And for the two of you guys to realize that, hey, every client of a Holistiplan, if they like that for tax services, or if they like Vanilla for estate planning services, they're probably going to like the other. That, I applaud you guys for realizing that you guys are going to be stronger together in this sort of thing, because I think if your service appeals to one advisor, both services will appeal to advisors. You guys are doing an incredible job of allowing us to move up market. So I appreciate that.
I love to hear that. Tori, do you have any thoughts to add or questions to add about that?
I think what we like to say is tax planning is a year-round sport. I think a lot of people get tied up with taxes are only something you talk about or deal with in April and possibly December if you're dealing with some business taxes or that kind of thing. But for us, tax season is a year-round sport. There's constantly something always happening. And a great point with Grant and his client, they weren't expecting the wife to pass away so quickly, right? And there's a ramification to all of that, not only on the estate planning side, but on the tax planning side too. So we want to make sure that advisors are very aware that it's a year-round sport. It's not just something that you need to deal with in April and December. So I think that that's a super important thing for people to remind themselves. Yes, clients probably only think about it in April and December when they're having to write those checks or potentially getting those deposits back into their accounts, but they should really be thinking about it year round, and how can they be planning for it for the following years as well.
That's great. Okay, so I want to make sure that we have time to see the actual demos, which I know that a lot of people are excited to see. So let's dive into those. And again, for everybody out there, please, by all means, shoot your questions in the chat. And after the demos are done, and even if it's pertinent to the demo, we can try to do it live here, but we'll get to those questions. Tori, you want to kick us off with the demo?
Sure, let's get my screen going here.
All right, perfect.
Okay, are we seeing my dashboard?
Yep, we got it.
Just make sure.
Yep.
Okay. Awesome. So this is our dashboard advisors will see when they log in. I like to point out a few things on this. These are our most popular webinar links. So these would be the webinars that we've hosted with partners like Vanilla, or we've just done on our own, and we link them here that these are the most watched. This is dynamic, so these are constantly changing with the different topics and seasons that we have going on. This what's new is our product team updates. So you can see we make updates almost weekly, and especially right now with tax season and different tax codes going in and out, our team is active constantly about getting those updates for you for the client. So I'm going to quickly get into the households here. So like Grant said, he uses a Redtail as his CRM. We have a great integration with Redtail and Wealthbox. So you're able to actually pull those clients over and then push over some data at the end of it. So I'm just going to go in here quickly for Bob and Karen Cole. So what you're going to do is you're going to upload the client's 1040 into the system. Our OCR is going to read it, and it's going to spit back within about 30 seconds this tax report. So this tax report is what you're going to go over with your client. And it's just a breakdown of the client's 1040, but in a really nice, easy to read report for you for the client to understand. Because sometimes those 1040s can be a little overwhelming for them to go through. Excuse me. So you can see over here on the left, the marginal tax bracket information, the gross income tiers, itemized deductions, Schedule B, cap gains and losses, income sources. This kind of is a hidden gem. You can kind of find some interesting things about your client over here. Maybe they had a Schwab account you had no idea they had. So this is a really fun one spot for advisors to kind of go over. And then the bread and butter are these observations that this report creates for you, the advisor, to go over with the client. So these are just tax hints, tax codes that the client maybe isn't taking advantage of, or they could be taking advantage better. You, the advisor, have the ability to edit, so you can make notes over on the ones that you go over with them. You also have the ability, there's a little icon on the right-hand side here. You can hide them if it's something that you didn't want to go over with the client. Completely up to you, the advisor. We also have state tax hints. So we don't actually upload the state income tax forms, but we do, based off the federal return, we can get some hints there for any state that has state income taxes. So this is a printable document that you are able to send off with the client. It's a PDF. The client can take this back to their tax preparer, keep it for their records, but this tax report is also able, if you are a Redtail or a Wealthbox user, you can push this back into your CRM. So it's held on their client page in your CRM. So you can refer back to it as the advisor. The next piece of this, so this is the what happened last year piece. Now the scenario analysis piece is how you, the advisor, can start building out different scenarios for your client. So here you can see, this is an older return. I didn't upload a current return, but you can get the idea here. So the scenario one is the current return that you have, most current return that you have uploaded for the client. And then scenarios 2 and 3 is where you can start building out these different scenarios for the advisor or for the client. So maybe you wanted to go over a Roth conversion with the client or charitable giving. Maybe they work for a tech company and some of their employee distributions are coming up, or they sold some stock, or they want to sell some of their stock the following year. This is where you can start building out those different scenarios for your client to see what potential taxes that they're going to pay, or what that's going to do for their income for the following year. We also just rolled out state tax down here. So you actually are able to model state tax planning for your client. So for my client here, I have it listed for California, but we have every state that has a state income tax in here as well for you to go over for your client. So with you being advisors, you're probably not working with clients just in your neighborhood anymore. You've probably got clients in different states. it's a little hard to keep up with the different state income taxes. So we've taken that burden and built it out for you here as well. This is also printable. You can make this a PDF for your client to take home with them. We also have a scenario bank. So it's our most frequently asked, how do I model? So we have a scenario bank in there. It'll give you step-by-step instructions on how to build out those different scenarios for your client, to model out different scenarios for them. So once you've done this, this is the future build out for the client. You can then have that well-rounded conversation with them for that financial plan. So now let's say you were going to take that Roth conversion, and now you can take that Roth conversion and plug it into your financial planning tool, like your eMoney or your Right Capital, and plan out for that Roth conversion for the following year. So that's kind of the full, well-rounded, quick intro to Holistiplan. Our team is very much open. If you guys have questions, info@holistiplan.com. We'll be able to answer any of those questions you have, get you guys set up for a demo. But I wanted to leave some time in there for the Vanilla team to go over their incredible platform as well.
Really nice demo, really nice overview. Got a couple of questions that I'll just throw out real quick before we get into the demo for Vanilla. What other CRM integrations do you have?
Yeah, so right now we're only working with Redtail and Wealthbox. Those are the only two CRMs. Those are actually our only two fully built out integrations. We are talking with quite a few other firms, but currently they are the only two we have.
Great. Are there any tax returns that are too complex for Holistiplan?
We don't do like business taxes, so it is individual tax returns. It's not business taxes, and we can't do trust. So if you wanted to upload a trust, we can't really do that. But most of them, even handwritten, I know that sounds insane that people still handwrite their return. I can see Grant kind of chuckling over there. People still write their tax returns out. So you can even upload a handwritten tax return. The OCR will kick it out, but we have an incredible team that picks those right up and is able to read those and get those uploaded within a few hours into your platform for you. So don't hesitate. If you do have a handwritten return, you're able to upload those as well.
Awesome. All right. Well, just in the name of time, we'll move on to Vanilla here. Thank you so much, Tori. And there are a couple of questions we didn't get to. We'll try to get to those at the end as well.
Great.
Okay, awesome. Well, I'll go next. And before I share my screen, maybe I just want to start with connecting the dots on a point I mentioned at the top of the webinar, which was that Vanilla, really the secret sauce of the platform is this idea that we're combining the financial data of clients' lives alongside the estate data and mapping out what that looks like. And so I think by combining both of these important data sets, like really all of this culminates into just a much more complete picture of clients' wealth. And then the advisor has the ability to do a number of things given this new picture, such as construct estate maps, run robust estate tax and waterfall calculations, add on scenario planning tools, generate new documents, et cetera. And so that's the platform that's being created here at Vanilla. So what I'll do today is go through at a very high level, what we've built today in terms of this exciting platform goal that I just mentioned. But the vision from the beginning really is that, we're building truly first ever, end-to-end platform for all things estate planning. And, in a space featuring so much complexity, riddled with edge cases and constant regulatory and legislative changes. I think by building this platform, we believe we can add a tremendous amount of value to advisors and their clients. So I just wanted to sort of start there and frame what you'll see today in terms of like the broader vision and goals of the system. Great. I'm going to share my screen and I'll walk you through a little bit of what that looks like today. So as we can see here, this is the advisor view for Vanilla. So what we're looking at right now is a particular household. So this is the Leonard family. What we're looking at is a completely onboarded household. So the beginning stages of an advisor utilizing Vanilla, as I'm sure Grant could probably speak to at length, is aggregating all of the household, financial, and estate planning data all into this platform. So this is post that period of time. We understand the family and the different generations that are now part of this household. We have linked or have added all of the financial accounts into our wealth center. So that wealth center is really going to be the financial hub of all things related for this estate. So that we have our own balance sheet, which you can see here. We have a couple of integrations that we've built to portfolio management companies. You can also add assets and accounts manually, but we take a very ownership-driven approach to this balance sheet. So you can see all of the owners of the estate along the top row. These are the people, whether it's individual or joint ownership, trusts and entities, things outside of the taxable estate. Really, this wealth center, again, is going to house all that information. We can look up different accounts, assets and liabilities, and ownership here. But really, this represents the foundation of the system, because without accurate financial data, it becomes harder to run, accurate estate planning analytics. Also showing here an entity flow chart, so we can understand the different ownership hierarchy between the trusts and different layers of entities, depending on, if clients have this type of complexity. And then, of course, we have all of the estate data. So the estate tab within the Vanilla tool shows all of the different visualizations and analytics we're running after we've done a document review. So the way that this data gets into this system, you can see here sort of the estate plan from top to bottom, and how some of these trusts, whether it's irrevocable or revocable trusts, move down to the beneficiaries. Advisors can get this data into the system one of two ways. We do have a team of estate specialists here on staff at Vanilla that you can upload documents to and send them in for a document review. So we'll review those documents, pull out all of the necessary provisions, understanding the implications of what these trusts say, and then after about a 10-day period, send an alert back to advisors and say, hey, the document review is done. Log back in, you can see all of the analytics and visualizations. So that is one option. Advisors can also do this work themselves if they have that sophistication. We provide a proprietary tool called the Estate Builder that really, in a cool way, shows how you can break down trusts and wills and everything else into these nice diagrams. One thing that Grant mentioned earlier is the interactive aspect of this platform. So I can click on any of these nodes, whether it's the trusts or the wills, and a flyout appears on the right-hand side. Just allows me to find out more information about this trust, whether it's the ownership percentages of different entities, what assets this trust might own, the different provisions that the experts team has stripped out of this trust. We even have the document itself located in the details tab, and all of the fiduciaries, which represent really the responsible parties of this document. So again, having all this information not live in documents anymore, but really moving it to an interactive platform that can be easy to access for our advisors. And then just highlighting a few other things before we move into Q&A, right? Another, I think, crucial aspect of this tool, again, because we know the financial data, because we have the estate built out now, is we can run a really accurate waterfall analysis. So as of today, today's dollars, today's estate plan structure, like what happens if generation one starts to pass away? And so we can see that assuming, one of the spouses passes first, how do the assets actually flow to the surviving spouse, whether that be through life insurance policies, retirement accounts that they're named as beneficiaries of, how do the assets flow into the sub-trusts that are created based on the plan? And then, of course, at the death of the second spouse, what do the beneficiaries get? What are they set to inherit? How does that breakdown actually occur? We can even pick out things such as, wait, one of these children isn't set to receive as much as the other. What's the breakdown here? And then I think that gives the advisor an opportunity to really dig in to what might be wrong, or if nothing's wrong, validate that this is something that's accurate. So giving advisors all of these different tools, running a hypothetical estate tax calculation that is fully federal and state estate tax compatible, I think just goes to this theme of transparency. And then, advisors being able to take this all and run PDF reports featuring these modules, able to just create really great, client experiences and hopefully move the relationship into the next direction. So I'll stop there, but again, we're happy to hop on, a demo call with anyone that's interested in learning more. There's a ton of, data here and a lot of visualizations that we can show. So we'd be happy to take the next steps and do a deeper dive demo at any time. So thanks again.
Really nice overview. Thanks, Michael. And we've got a few questions here that I'm going to shoot your way.
Yep.
How are accounts added to Vanilla? Account aggregation or integration with other systems such as Schwab, Black Diamond, Tarmac, et cetera?
Yeah, so it's a really important aspect of this tool. Increasing automation here is going to help advisors at a great length. And so we're starting with the financial data in terms of increasing that automation. Look, at any time, you can add manual accounts and assets via some of the widgets that appeared within the balance sheet. And although that is quite manual, what's nice is that we don't have to add a ton of specific value regarding performance of assets, things of that nature. They can be sort of bulk uploads of a cash account, a marketable securities account. But along the automation front, we have built an integration with Black Diamond. We are completing one with Orion at the moment. That should be available in the next couple of weeks, and Adapar should be available within the next few months. And then we're also looking to integrate across, the spectrum of fintech tools as well. So CRM systems, financial planning tools, that's going to be a really important piece of our product roadmap here over the next few months and quarters, is just building those integrations to increase the way that you can automate account ingestion into Vanilla.
That's great. And I've got a question here about the document abstraction. You mentioned that there are two different ways to get documents into the system. And this question is about how quality control. So who's reviewing those documents for abstraction, and how does that work?
Yeah, so if you're outsourcing that work to Vanilla, we have a team of experts that are either former practicing attorneys or have worked as estate specialists within large banks. So the quality control there really is in just hiring the right talent. And so we have people that have done this work for decades, reviewing those documents, making sure they're understanding the provisions and the implications of those documents correctly. And so that's the team that's here internally. If you choose to outsource that work to us, the quality control in terms of if you want to do this yourself within your own RIA, many RIAs have hired someone that's a former practicing attorney. Some just have that type of sophistication. So, at the moment, if you do that review by yourself, you can send it in, and Vanilla, looks over and make sure the calculations are correct. But the idea is that what we've built and the algorithms that are inside of the system over time, those will be quite bulletproof, in that anything that you're creating on the Vanilla side during the estate builder work, will be calculated correctly within the system automatically.
That's great. Another question here: how are Vanilla reports better than e-money estate tax reports?
Yeah, it's a good question. And so I can't, I don't want to speak exactly to the e-money estate reports, but what I will say is on the Vanilla side, look, what we're doing is specifically related to estate planning. It's all that we're doing, and we're putting all of our R&D resources to making sure that we're calculating every single calculation that needs to be run to make this accurate, and that we are really leading with a design element that I don't think's been brought to the table yet in estate planning, particularly for advisors. And so I think what you'll see with the Vanilla reports are just that they are very clean, that they are very beautiful, and that clients are very receptive to that type of report. So there's a lot less mess. They're easy to understand, and at the end of the day, the clear understanding is exactly what we're going for. So I would say our reports, really keep that in mind. We keep things as simple as possible in a complex world, and then at the end of the day, give the advisors front seat access into making sure that what they're creating is something that can be legible for their clients.
That's great. Well, we're about out of time. I just wanted to know if anybody had any last thoughts. Grant, after thank you for your perspective on your kind of real client experience on all of this, and wondering if you have any final thoughts to leave us with, and Tori and Michael as well. Grant, go ahead.
Yeah, no, like I said, I'm really pleased to see providers like you all realizing the valuable overlap that you have to folks like us. You guys both have exceptional products that we use literally every day. So appreciate that. And yeah, you guys both touched on things you guys have coming down the pike a little bit. And as users of both of your platforms for a while now, I can attest to the fact that you guys, both of you, have done an excellent job of continuing to improve these. So I thank you, and I look forward to the things you guys have coming around the corner.
Really appreciate you coming on and giving your perspective, Grant. Really nice. Thank you so much. Tori.
I just want to thank Grant for coming on. I know this is a little bit different setup for a webinar. So we're really appreciative that you were very open to come and talk about how you implement both tech into your platform and your business. And like we said, tax planning is a year-round sport, and it goes hand in hand with every piece of business that you are doing. So we just want to keep pounding the pavement with that mantra, right? Like, don't just think it's a one-time thing. It's a year-round thing.
And remind folks where they can get in touch with you if they want to get more information.
Yeah, info@holistiplan.com.
Perfect. And Michael, you want to talk us out here?
Sure. Yeah, I'll cap us off. I mean, I'll echo a lot of Tori's comments. Grant, really appreciate you coming on the webinar today, and grateful for your partnership with us. We're really excited to keep the product and the platform building in the right direction. There's a lot on our product roadmap. There's a lot here within estate planning that we're excited to bring to clients, and we're excited to keep working with Holistiplan. I think, to Grant's point, there's a ton of synergy here, and I think that will only become more evident the closer we get as technology partners. And so there's a lot of excitement here for the future. In order to get to reach out to us, website is justvanilla.com. There you can read more about our product, a little bit about the roadmap, some user stories, and then reach out to the sales team to learn more about how you can get a deeper dive demo and potentially get added to our waiting list of new and excited users.
Perfect. Well, thanks so much. This has been a terrific panel. Really appreciate all of your thoughts. And thank you, everybody out there. And again, visit those websites and reach out for more information. And make sure to check it. Both Holistiplan and Vanilla's websites have lots of additional content that'll be helpful in terms of tax and estate. So be sure to check that out. Thanks so much. Have a great day.